What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another Heart Over Height episode. Today, we're going to be talking about 5 teams who absolutely need to make a trade at the deadline just to improve or worsen their season. I'll get into that. So if you do enjoy this content, do me a huge favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below on what teams you believe should make a trade. So without further ado, let's get right on into this. So, starting at number 5, a team that desperately does need to make a trade. It is the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls are just one of those weird teams that they bought into the idea of Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, Nikola Vucevic, DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, etc. It clearly didn't work. They shipped out Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey. The process you would expect by then for them to be on a fire sale. DeMar DeRozan gets traded, cool, but other than that, Zach LaVine needs to be dealt. Nikola Vucevic needs to be dealt. You could even look at some of these other players, like you kind of got to, maybe Kobe White needs to get dealt. Some things need to start happening so that you can fully reset. Right now, they're sitting at the 10th seed in the East. They're a bubble play-in team. You need to be bad. It's just, at this point, go trade these valuable players. People want Nikola Vucevic. People want Zach LaVine. People would want Kobe White if he's on the market before you have to pay guys like that, right? It's just a matter of you have to learn when to call it quits that the experiment failed, right? Eventually, it's going to need some retooling or rebuild completely. So they are my first team here that I am looking at making a deal. Next up on this list, I do have the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat, I think this should be an obvious one. Everybody's hearing Jimmy Butler slander left and right, whether or not he's going with the team or not going with the team he's playing tonight, or whether being suspended by the team, something like that. You just got to cut your loss. Realize, Pat Riley, that you're not going to get the value that you would out of a traditional Jimmy Butler had he been playing this whole time, playing at a high level. You're not going to. So you might as well just stop all the drama, stop all the BS, go get what you can. You go talk to Phoenix or something like that. You go get what you can for him. They are in desperate need of change, desperate need of swapping to something else, something different in Miami. And Bam isn't having a good season. Tyler Hero, he's actually having a great season. And Terry Rozier's just not looking like the acquisition that was needed. Now, Jimmy Butler's reasoning for being traded, I totally get. I think the semantics and everything behind what he's doing, all the games, is kind of childish, a little BS, honestly. But I understand where he's coming from in the sense of like, hey, I told you guys, the Miami Heat, I want to win a championship or compete for a championship each and every year. I don't want to have to continually, year after year, play my freaking heart out where I'm exhausted on the sidelines like I did in the bubble. I want the opportunity to play alongside a superstar. Bam isn't that guy. Tyler Hero's not that guy, right? So we need to go out and we need to go get somebody. So the Heat said, all right, I'm going to give you Terry Rozier, which, cool, but he's not Kevin Durant. He's not Nikola Jokic. He's not Luka. He's not Kyrie. He's not Kawhi, Paul George, etc. Terry Rozier is not a top 10 point guard, not a top 10 shooting guard in the NBA. So how can you expect him to carry the level that Jimmy Butler's asking? This is your superstar guy that carried your team to the finals. How can you expect him to want somebody like Terry Rozier? Maybe Terry Rozier coming off the bench, sure, but you still need to go out and get that piece. Next up on this list, I do have the Sacramento Kings here. Sacramento, ever since they fired Mike Brown, they've been playing phenomenal basketball. They're clicking on all cylinders. Keon Ellis is finally getting into the rotation as he should have been this entire time of the year. But they are sitting at the 10th seed. They do always feel like they're missing something, right? The whole Fox, Sabonis, DeRozan mixture, it feels like they're missing that key piece. Like, De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis, DeRozan feel like second options for your superstar, i.e., you look at previous championship years, like the Nuggets, right? Jokic was your clear number one option. Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon were your second, third, fourth options. It doesn't feel like the Kings have that number one option. Or even if they have that plethora of talent, right, that they are trying to build where everybody is kind of a number one or number two option, then you need to go and just get more, right? So they should be looking at somebody like Cam Johnson in the trade market, trade deadline. They would desperately need somebody like him. There's a way that you can make this deal happen too, right? Obviously, if you're the Nets, you're like, hey, I want Keegan Murray, right? The Kings are like, hey, I'm not going to give up Keegan Murray. So how about this? We'll give you Trey Lyles, we'll give you Kevin Herter to make the money match, and we'll give you an unprotected first round pick in the future. If I'm Brooklyn, I'm saying, hey, make that 2027 or 2028 or 2029, something like that. Make it a couple years down the road, because who knows what happens with Fox, right? Fox this offseason has the opportunity to leave, meaning the Kings could potentially then put on a string of bad years. Or next year, they might not be so bad, but the following year, if Sabonis leaves and the dominoes all fall, right? So if you're the Nets, you say, hey, we'll take it, but I want it a couple years from now. So I think the Kings are in a decent spot. I really do. I just think that they need to make one last, like, pull the trigger on one last thing to compete in a Western Conference in a 7-game series when you're going to be going up against one options consistently, right? The Celtics proved that you could just gather up all the assets that you can, overload on assets, and eventually you're going to win, right? They finally did it, but they had number one option in Jason Tatum, number one option or number two, however you want to argue it, Jaylen Brown, and then you had Kristaps, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Al Horford, the guys you still have to defend. Peyton Pritchard is getting so many open looks this year. He's balling out of his mind. It's a good thing to see. It really is. But the Kings could be on their way for that. They mimic that in De'Aaron Fox, DeMar DeRozan, Cam Johnson, Sabonis, Keon Ellis, etc. Keegan Murray. You add to it, but you have to put the right pieces around it, and the pieces have to be cohesive. And with Kevin Herter having a down year, Trey Lyles, he's there to make the money match. But that unprotected first-round pick would really entice the Brooklyn Nets to give that up. So next up here, I do have the New Orleans Pelicans. New Orleans Pelicans currently sitting at 14 in the West. They are terrible this year. Yes, some injuries have been hindering them and all that, but it is time for them to make a trade. They've got to decide Brandon Ingram on the trade block, right? Zion on the trade block, something like that. Now, I have this idea that I was discussing with some basketball fans. The idea of trading for Zion seems like a genius idea for a handful of teams. A team like the Trailblazers or a team like Brooklyn, for example. One of these, or even like the Warriors. The Warriors could use a guy like Zion. 6'6", athletic, right? Of course, he's not going to be some grade A defender. He's not going to be able to help spread the floor. They probably could use another shooter, but what I mean by this is, like, Zion has an opportunity to do, like, he seems like a very good, like, plug guy. As in, like, you need a secondary scorer, boom, Zion can be that. And also, you're kind of banking on the idea that last season he played 60-plus games. Finally had a healthy season. I think it's time that Zion just needs an opportunity in a new environment. And I think that another team could be that opportunity. Chicago, for example, right? They've got young, exciting talent. Why not throw Zion in that mix? You're already looking to get rid of Vucevic or Zach LaVine. The Pelicans could use a center, or even Brandon Ingram, for example. Could be a good fit on a lot of teams. I just hope that we don't see the same consistent thing of Brandon Ingram stays put after year of trade rumors. Same thing with the Bulls. Year after year of trade rumors. Zach LaVine stays put. Nikola Vucevic stays put. Nikola Vucevic to the Warriors seems to make a lot of sense. Zach LaVine to the Pistons seems to make a lot of sense. With the Pelicans, Brandon Ingram feels like a Heat guy. I don't know why. I can picture him in a Heat jersey. I feel like that. So you might have some 4-team deal there. Toronto has already said, hey, We are willing to absorb contracts. If you have a bad contract, we can be that third team, fourth team in there to help things out. So why not go talk to them, see if, yeah, you can go swing and you get a guy that you need a center, for example. The Pelicans desperately need a center. Yes, Avi Missy is having a good rookie season and all that, but long-term longevity, depth at the center position is crucial. You need it. So why not go use your enticing pieces in Zion and or Brandon Ingram and call it? The system did not work. The Zion, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, right? That core did not work. So it's time to move on. Brandon Ingram is taking up ball time for guys like Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. Move on. I like Trey Murphy and Herb Jones a whole lot. So I think that they need that opportunity to shine. Like, those guys deserve to get reps in the league. And they're getting reps, but they could be flourishing. So that's another team. The final team that I do have here, it is the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors, they're currently sitting at 11, right outside the play-in. They're a team that desperately needs to make a trade. They might be at the top of this list here. They're a team that Curry and Draymond are only so young. How many more years of Curry do we actually have? Maybe 5? Like, that's pushing it. I doubt it, though. Maybe 3? 3 more really good years or good years, but the decline of Curry has arrived where your championship window, like, you should not be focusing on young talent. I don't understand the idea of focusing on young talent when you have Steph Curry, 35, when you have Draymond, when you have these guys, your core. And if this was the case, like, why did you get rid of Klay Thompson? Why not just give him his money, you run it back, let the boys play together? Like that, it just doesn't make sense. Why are you holding on to Brandon Podziemski so you can't go get a guy, or Jonathan Kuminga, so you can't go get a guy like Lauri Markkanen in the offseason? That right there of Curry, Draymond, Lauri Markkanen, and whatever else was left, Andrew Wiggins. I mean, Andrew probably would have been in the trade, but, like, you would have had either Pods or Kuminga still there. But, like, why are you holding on to those guys? Brandon Podziemski is having a sophomore slump. It's clear as day, right? He's having that sophomore slump. Who knows what he's going to be like in year 3? Because we saw year 1, pretty solid. Year 2, so far, no great shining moments. Year 3, who knows, right? And if you flop on that, and then Kuminga, like, we really don't know what Kuminga is going to be like, because there's some nights that he dominates and he flourishes, and he's super young still. But then other nights that it's like he disappears. He's quiet. He doesn't fit. So I think that guys like that should be traded. Go out and go get your Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond, right? I don't think, like, I think you could find a way to get that deal done to where you don't have to give up both Pods and Kuminga. If I'm the Heat, I want Kuminga. I'm not settling for Podziemski. I think long-term, I think Kuminga has more value than Podziemski, 1,000%. But overall, I think that is 5 teams that absolutely need to make a deal. Those 5 teams, I think that there's a handful of teams that still could be on that list, but these are the 5 most crucial teams on this list. I thought about the Lakers with LeBron and AD aging. You got to just send it now. Screw your future. Send it now. Because you've already screwed your future, you might as well full send it because LeBron and AD are older, right? I thought about a team like the Pistons. Finally, a little exciting to watch, but I think especially with Jaden Ivey's injury, and they're actually handling it well, I think now you could make a trade, but you don't have to go to make some drastic deal. So, those were some teams I considered. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. So if you do enjoy this video, do me a huge favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below on your team that should make a deal in the trade deadline. So without further ado, it's been another Heart Over Height episode, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.